Imagine the toughest, coolest, most unbreakable rock and roll heart, you know, the guy who stood on Super Bowl stages in front of 100 million people screaming, "I won't back down." Like he really meant it, the guy who made rebellion sound like a hymn and heartbreak sound like freedom. That was Tom Petty. But in the summer of 2017, just weeks before he left this earth forever, that same unbreakable man sat alone with his oldest friend and finally broke. He cried like a child and told the one story he had buried for 38 years, the story that poisoned every song, every high, every smile, the story of the day in 1979 when the person who loved him most in the world was dying in a Gainesville hospital bed, and Tom Petty, the man who never ran from anything, walked out of that room and never came back. He didn't hold her hand, he didn't say goodbye, he didn't even go to the funeral. He sent his little brother instead, and for the rest of his life he carried that guilt like a bullet he could never dig out. He told his friend, "That was the most cowardly thing I ever did in my life," and then he whispered, "I've been running from that room ever since." October 20th, 1950, Gainesville, Florida, 5:51 p.m. exactly. A tiny baby with blonde hair and hurricane eyes comes screaming into the world. Thomas Earl Petty. Mom Kitty, a soft-spoken tax clerk who loves country radio. Dad Earl, a traveling salesman who loves the bottle more than his family. They live in a pretty little house by the Duck Pond neighborhood. Looks perfect on the outside, but inside it's a war zone. By age 5, Tom already knows the sound of a belt sliding through loops. He accidentally dents a Cadillac with a slingshot in 1955. The driver complains. Earl comes home drunk, rips the belt off and beats that little boy until welts cover him head to toe. Kitty and Grandma lay him naked on the bed, rubbing alcohol on open wounds while he stares at the ceiling and learns how to disappear inside his own head. To toe. Kitty and Grandma lay him naked on the bed, rubbing alcohol on open wounds while he stares at the ceiling and learns how to disappear inside his own head. That was the first time, but it sure as hell wasn't the last. Kitty is his only light. She plays Hank Williams and Patsy Cline on the radio, teaches him harmony before he can even spell his name. But Kitty is sick, epilepsy, cancer, and a husband who treats her like a punching bag too. One night in the late 60s, Earl gets drunk on a fishing trip, crashes the car head-on. Kitty's head smashes the windshield. She never really recovers, just fades a little more every day until October 21st, 1981, day after Tom turns 30. She finally lets go and Tom feels like the last piece of his childhood just died with her. Summer 1961, everything changes. Tom is 10. His uncle Earl Jr. is working on an Elvis movie, Follow That Dream, in nearby Ocala. Uncle sneaks him on set, hundreds of screaming girls. Then Elvis himself walks straight toward little Tom in all his black-haired glory, stops, looks down and shakes his hand. Tom freezes, can't speak, can't breathe. That night he trades his slingshot for a stack of Elvis 45s, locks himself in his room and plays them until the grooves wear out. Something inside him flips forever. He's found the only thing louder than his father's rage music. 1964, the Beatles hit Ed Sullivan. Tom watches with 73 million other people when they play I Want to Hold Your Hand. He says out loud, "I don't have to be Elvis, I just have to be me with a guitar." He grows his hair long, starts lying to girls about having a band, then actually builds one. The Sundowners, they play frat houses for gas money until one night in 1966 the drummer Dennis Lee beats Tom half to death in front of cheering college kids. Mom cries all night when she sees the bruises. That's the end of the Sundowners, but not the end of the dream. 1968, graduates high school, hair past his shoulders. Town thinks he's a freak, meets Mike Campbell, instant soul brother connection. They form Mudcrutch with Benmont Tench on keys, play 6 nights a week at a topless bar called Dubs for $100 total, sleep all day, landscape the university for cash, rehearse all night, throw wild parties at Mudcrutch Farm until Halloween 1972 when the cops raided, kids on acid burn the stage down, band gets evicted, homeless again but still hungry. March 24, 1974, marries his high school sweetheart Jane Benyo. She's already pregnant with Audria. They live above a laundromat, smoke weed, listen to Dylan on a shitty turntable. Tom writes songs on a kitchen table while the baby sleeps, but the obsession is already eating the marriage alive. Jane wants a husband, Tom wants the dream. August 1974, age 23, packs Mudcrutch into a van with $100 in gas money and drives to LA. No plan, no contacts, just a demo tape and pure Florida madness. 7 labels offer studio time in the first week. They sign with Shelter Records, move into a house with a swimming pool in Canoga Park. Tom says, "We thought we were kings." But by 1975 Mudcrutch implodes. 3 songwriters pulling 3 directions, band breaks up. Tom stays in LA alone, living on a publishing advance, $6 a night motel. Eating peanut butter from the jar. Early 1976. Benmont Book Studio time. Invites old friends to jam. Tom walks in, hears Mike Campbell's guitar, Ron Blair's bass, Stan Lynch's drums, and knows instantly this is the sound they cut. Refugee in one take. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers are born. Debut album November 1976. Sells almost nothing until they tour the UK, opening for Nils Lofgren. British crowds lose their minds. American Girl becomes a anthem. They Come Home Heroes. 1979. Everything explodes and everything breaks. Shelter Records gets sold to MCA without telling Tom. He feels like cattle being branded. Sues them. Files bankruptcy. $576,000 in debt, $56,000 in assets. MCA blinks. Renegotiates, but the stress is crushing. Meanwhile, Kitty is dying in Gainesville Hospital. April 1979. Tom flies home, walks into her room, sees her tiny body drowning in bed sheets, walls covered in magazine clippings of her famous son. She can barely speak but smiles when she sees him. Tom freezes. Panic claws his throat. He turns around, walks out, never comes back, doesn't hold her hand, doesn't say I love you. Sends little brother Bruce to the funeral, stays on the road because the road is the only place the guilt can't catch him. October 19, 1979. Damn the Torpedoes drops, recorded in pure rage and heartbreak, goes triple platinum. Refugee becomes the sound of a generation, but behind the scenes Jane is spiraling. Mental illness, pills, screaming, phone calls, suicide threats. Tom throws himself into touring, anything to not go home. 1981. MCA tries to charge an extra $1 for Hard Promises. Tom threatens to call the album $8.98. They back down. He wins again, but the victories feel hollow. Ron Blair quits, can't handle the road. Howie Epstein joins. 20 years later, Howie will die of heroin. Tom will blame himself. 1985. Southern Accents tour. Confederate flag backdrop for Rebels song about Southern pride backfires. Hard fans wave rebel flags. Tom realizes too late how toxic it looks. Stops the show in North Carolina. Calls himself stupid. Spends decades apologizing. Cocaine floods the studio. Mike Campbell almost dies from a bad batch. Tom punches a wall during Rebels session. Smashes his left hand to pieces. Doctors say he may never play guitar again. Pin screws electroshock therapy just to close his fist. He finishes the album anyway because pain is the only honest thing he has left. 1987. Forms the Traveling Wilburys with George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison. One magical year of laughing, recording in Dylan's garage like kids. Then Roy dies suddenly. December 1988. The joy dies with him. 1989. Full Moon Fever drops. MCA says no hits. Tom proves them wrong again. Quintuple platinum, but the band feels betrayed. Mike played everything. Stan Lynch feels pushed out. The cracks are permanent. 1994. Wildflowers, the Divorce album. Jane is gone, institutionalized, screaming outside his house at 3 a.m. Tom records 28 songs in pure grief. Label forces him to cut it to 15. He never forgives them. Heroin starts here. Quiet secret hotel rooms alone. He hates himself every single time. 1996. Divorce final. Heroin deeper. Dana York enters his life, slowly drags him out of the needle. They marry. 2001. Little Richard officiates. He thinks maybe this time he can be saved. 2002. Fires Howie Epstein over heroin. Can't look him in the eye. Has the manager do it. Howie dies a year later, age 47. Tom says, I watched a tree die slowly, then somebody just cut it down. The guilt is eating him alive. 2008. Super Bowl halftime. 100 million people. He's wearing fentanyl patches under the leather jacket. Fractured hip, can barely walk. Just get me to the stage and I'll be fine. He sings I Won't Back Down while his body is screaming. 2014. Pneumonia collapses on stage, cancels tour. Lungs destroyed from 50 years of 2 packs a day. Doctors beg him to stop, he can't. 2015. London hotel room. Dana finds him blue on the bathroom floor. Heroin 3 days straight. 2 shots of Narcan bring him back. He never tells the public. 2017 40th anniversary tour. 53 shows. He's limping off stage, carried by golf cart, hip completely shattered. Doctors beg him to cancel. He refuses. September 25th Hollywood Bowl final show ever. He smiles through the pain, tells the crowd, we love you so much. 7 days later. October 2, 2017. Found unconscious in Malibu. Fentanyl, oxycodone, broken hip, coronary artery disease, emphysema. The pain finally won. The medicine finally killed the boy who once ran from his dying mother's hospital room. They release the autopsy. The world finds out the unbreakable man died of a broken heart and too many pills. His family says it was accidental. His songs say he never forgave himself for that day in 1979 when he walked out of room 312 and kept walking for 38 more years. Drop a broken heart. If you now understand, every single lyric Tom Petty ever wrote was a letter of apology to the people he couldn't save, starting with his mother, ending with himself, because some doors you walk out of you can never walk back through. No matter how many stadiums scream your name, the loudest silence of his life was the one in that Gainesville hospital room, and he carried it to the grave.